I'll start with the gross and end with the most disgusting hygiene practice in history. Number 1. Pig toilets. While this one may sound like something cute out of a cartoon, in reality, pig toilets were a nasty invention that originated in ancient China as a way to manage and recycle human waste. A pig toilet was a combination of a human toilet and pigsty. The basic model was as follows. An outhouse would be mounted on top of a pigsty with a tube or a chute connecting the two. As humans used the toilet, their waste would be directed down into the pigsty, where the pigs would then consume the feces as part of their usual diet. Delicious! The digestive system of pigs allowed them to further break down the waste, and then the waste of the pigs was able to be used as fertilizer. Other food was thrown into the sty as well. A balanced diet is essential after all, and pig toilets did prove to be effective in what they aimed to accomplish. They did, however, have their fair share of drawbacks. There are the obvious ones, such as the horrific odor and the question of animal welfare. And then there are questions as to how effective the system could really be. If all of the human waste wasn't consumed, it could eventually contaminate groundwater and the surrounding environment. There was also the possibility of disease getting spread, as both the pigs and the humans using the pig toilets would constantly be in close proximity to the other's waste. There's even the possibility of parasitic infections causing a never-ending chain. Imagine a human picks up a parasite. They use the pig toilet, and the pig ingests human waste infected with the parasite. The pig is later killed and eaten, and the parasite goes either back to the original host or onto a new one. The circle of life, it truly moves us all. While advances in sanitation and modern waste management have led to pig toilets falling out of widespread use, these things have been found in areas of Asia as recently as the early 2000s. I, for one, just have so many questions. Do the pigs know what's really going on? Do they enjoy it? Do they get excited when they see someone walk into that outhouse? Anyways, I'm already grossed out, and this list is just getting started. Number 2. Wigs. Now, most people know that wig wearing was extremely common in the olden days, particularly in the 17th and 18th centuries in Europe. What most people don't know is the fact that these wigs were almost never washed and were frequently a breeding ground for lice and other crawly pests. They were usually worn daily, so as part of your morning routine, you would wake up, get dressed, and plop what was essentially a lice nest onto your head, where it would stay for the rest of the day. Wigs were popular for many reasons in Europe during this time period. They offered a solution for people who suffered from hair loss, often due to diseases like syphilis, giving them an opportunity to present a sweet hairdo and convince the maiden they brought home from the tavern that they were totally clean, madame. They also let people present different, fancy hairstyles without having to wash or alter their own hair, which was rare in those days. As natural hair was rarely washed, it's not a huge leap to learn that wigs were rarely washed as well. As a result, they became an absolute playground for lice. There were other factors at play too. Wigs were fitted extremely close to the scalp, and the dark, warm environment acted as a mood-setting sauna for the lice to relax in and reproduce. What's more, wigs were sometimes made with animal hair, specifically horsehair, and lice already present on the horses could easily be transferred over directly to the person wearing the wig. Lastly, in a somewhat ironic twist, perfumed powders were often used to cover up the odors that would inevitably arise from heavily used wigs. The scents in the perfume would attract more bugs. I get maybe you don't have time to scrub it with shampoo or anything, guys, but you could at least, rinse it out in a river every once in a while. Number 3. Urine as a facial cleanser. We've all been there. You wake up, head to the bathroom, and realize you're out of Neutrogena. But you have sensitive skin and a huge meeting at the end of the week, so you can't afford to break out, and you don't have time to run to the CVS. The answer? Easy. Rub some of your urine all over your face. Using urine as a facial cleanser is a practice that, shockingly, has been present in numerous cultures for centuries, from medieval Europe to China to ancient Rome. This wasn't a one-off thing. This was a widespread practice that transcended borders. In medieval Europe, urine was used as a facial cleanser simply because many people didn't have access to fresh water and perfumes. What's the closest thing to perfumed water? The obvious answer is piss. In ancient China, the history of using urine is a little different. In addition to being used cosmetically, urine was a component of traditional Chinese medicine, seen as having properties and elements that helped regulate balance in the body. The Romans believed that the ammonia content in urine acted as a cleansing agent, so they used their own urine to clean not only their face, but also their clothes and even their floors. I mean, it's pretty hilarious to imagine a Roman going about their daily chores. They wake up, relieve themselves into their hands, rub the urine on their face, toss a load into the laundry machine, take a leak in there, and then as a cherry on top, just unload one more time all over the kitchen floor. I just hope they were keeping hydrated. The craziest part? While common people usually use their own urine for these purposes, the wealthy elite use the urine from common urinals. Rubbing your own urine on your face is one thing, but the urine of a stranger? Nah, count me out. The human body is an amazing thing, and as a part of all of its functions, it creates waste. At what point did we decide that using our waste as soap helped keep us clean? I just wish I was in the room when people were having these discussions. Next thing you know, we'll be gargling our urine as mouthwash. Number 4. Urine as mouthwash. I guess I spoke too soon. Turns out urine was used as more than just a cleaner. There's evidence of not only our old pals the ancient Romans and Chinese using urine as a way to clean the mouth, but also the French during the 18th century, and even some ancient Indian cultures. The idea was that since urine was widely believed to be sterile and antiseptic, a myth that has since been disproven by scientific studies, it would not only kill germs and bacteria in the mouth, but the ammonia and other compounds would whiten teeth as well. So when those wealthy Roman elites went to the public urinals to scoop out buckets of urine for their cleaning cupboard, they snuck an extra bottle into their bathroom to rinse with before bed. The Roman philosopher Seneca was a known proponent of this. Seneca, the speaker of such deep truths as, "We suffer more than in imagination than in reality." But let's not forget the lesser-known but equally powerful saying, "I love to gargle my own piss." The ancient Chinese and Indians at least had the decency to add herbs and other substances into the mix to improve the experience. But the Romans and the Europeans usually decided to take it straight with no chaser. If you're gonna do it right, I guess. It's also important to note that across all cultures, human urine was not always the go-to. In ancient Indian medicine, they opted for cow urine on account of the religious and cultural significance of cows in Hinduism. To most Hindus, especially those in ancient times, the cow is seen as a sacred animal, and its various byproducts, not only urine but also dung, have long been used in medicinal, religious, and agricultural practices. In some areas of India, the use of cow urine as a mouthwash is still common today. Number 5. Mouse brain toothpaste. Seriously, man, what's with these Romans? Apparently, the Romans in general were very particular about their dental care, and they crafted toothpaste from a variety of different materials and substances. Among some of the ingredients they used were charcoal and ash, crushed up oyster shells and bones, and different flavorings like mint, honey, and myrrh. And let's not forget the old standby, human urine. Okay, seriously, with all the stuff the Romans used urine for, you have to wonder if there was just one super pervert who was out there spreading all of this misinformation. But let's not get sidetracked from the main event here. Crushed up mouse brains were thought to improve the effectiveness of the toothpaste and help freshen breath. Because nothing says fresh breath like brains and urine. Why not throw in some garlic and boiled egg for good measure? The brains, along with whatever other delightful ingredients these twisted people decided to use, would be ground up into a fine powder and then combined with some sort of binder, often honey, to form into a paste. The thing is, as crazy and disgusting as all of this seems, the Romans actually had pretty great teeth compared to other people during this period of time. As one can probably imagine, bad breath, toothaches, and cavities were widespread issues in ancient times when not many people had the means or the wherewithal to properly clean their teeth. So while the actual ingredients that the Romans used are pretty gnarly on paper, there's evidence that their dental hygiene practices were very effective. When human skeletons were excavated from the ruins of Pompeii and Herculaneum, only 1/3 of the remains showed missing teeth, and very few had any evidence of cavities. I'm not saying I'm going to try it myself anytime soon, but it seems like maybe the Romans were actually onto something with this one. Number 6. Crocodile dung contraceptive. You're getting home from a night at Club Pyramid, and you've picked up one of the hottest girls you've ever seen. You bring her back to your place, and she asks if you have a condom. In a panic, you realize you don't. "Don't worry," she says. "I got some crocodile shit with me." Now, don't get me wrong. I want to practice safe sex as much as the next guy, but it feels like the ancient Egyptians were really reaching here. In the Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest and most extensive medical texts in the history of ancient Egypt, there are descriptions of several different types of contraceptives, usually either with the goal of creating a barrier between the sperm and the uterus, or making the uterus an inhospitable environment for sperm in the first place. The women of ancient Egypt unfortunately got the short end of the stick here, and as a result, they were the ones who had to insert various substances inside themselves for the purpose of avoiding pregnancy. Some of the ingredients used were honey, cotton seeds, gum, soaked linens, and even fresh citrus juice. I mean, I don't need to have to know that squeezing a lime directly in there cannot feel very good. Undoubtedly the least hygienic and most unpleasant sounding of all the contraceptives mentioned in the Ebers Papyrus is the use of crocodile dung. The dung was mixed with a fermented dough made of water and plant materials, and was inserted into the to serve as a barrier. Why the Egyptians thought it was a good idea to insert animal waste directly into one of the most sensitive parts of the body, we may never know. But it's believed that crocodile dung was chosen because of its plentiful availability, and also because of the religious and cultural significance of crocodiles in Egyptian culture, similar to the Hindus and the cows from before. Perhaps even more confusing than the use of the dung is its combination with fermented dough. What's all that about? Was it just something that the first doctor had lying around the house? Did he over-ferment his sourdough, then just think, well, I can't just waste it and throw it out? While the decision to include the bread dough is not super clear from historical texts, it may have been used primarily for its texture and consistency. When mixed with the dung, it created a paste that was thick enough to serve as a barrier contraceptive, but also moldable and soft enough to get up in there in the first place. Aside from the fact that this method was most likely not very effective in preventing pregnancy, it was also pretty dangerous. The insertion of animal dung carried significant health risks, potentially introducing harmful bacteria and pathogens into the reproductive tract, leading to infection, causing inflammation, irritation, and the spread of harmful bacteria to other areas of the body. Sure, some guys hate condoms, but this was a contraceptive that was not enjoyable for anyone.